Shalawama, Shalawama. I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Astrotheology. Astrotheology. Check the number in the video. All of the videos are ordered, okay, from 1 to, I think this is number 26, but check it. Okay, so welcome. If you've been with us from the beginning, I appreciate you. And I want to say congratulations too, because it takes discipline to be able to do this, to show up every day. You know, that takes discipline. So I want to congratulate you for that. Let's give it a minute and then we will get started. Let me show you the book. So for those of you who are new, we're using The Devil's Pulpit. All right, this is the book by Reverend Robert Taylor. Everybody see that? By Reverend Robert Taylor, The Devil's Pulpit. It's a strange name, but when you get the book, it's a free PDF on the internet. So Google search it, you'll get it, download it for free. You'll understand why he chose to name it The Devil's Pulpit. There's no spooky stuff. There's no spooky stuff, okay? This book deals with philology, linguistics and history, etymology, so on and so forth. We are on page 143. All right, we're on page 143. So let's give it a minute and then we'll get started. Feel free to ask for my number if you want to call in, right? Comment, put your comments in the comment section and we're gonna have fun. I've been having a great time with this video series. It's a lot of work, you know, but it's fun. It's really, really fun. And the author writes in such a way where it's confusing. So he makes you think on many different, in many different ways, because you have to figure out the English, right? Because the book is so old. And then his views are quite different. So, you know, if you're new, I think you're going to really like this. All right. This is not religion. This is science. Okay. So you're not going to have to deal with any matters about doctrine. Okay. So don't worry about that. This is all about linguistics and history, church father history, the history of mythology, right? Some history about architecture, dealing with some of these Christian structures, churches, and so on and so forth. So it's really, really good, y'all. I think you're going to enjoy it. And I'm telling you, this knowledge on the topic is invaluable, right? So let me show y'all something. Let me show you what I mean, okay? So you can gain an understanding of, I just want to show you a basic picture that everybody is familiar with. All right, I'll show you a basic picture everyone is familiar with. And then we can just take a look at it. All right, let me show you why this is so useful. Some of you may know this. What I'm going to show you is nothing like for others of you, you may have never known this or have never seen it. So you're looking at pictures of the Christ figure. So look at the halo. Look at the halo. So if you've been with us from the beginning of this class, you will know that that halo represents the sun, right? See here, even here, you see a halo. It represents the sun, right? It represents the sun. Now, if you've been going through our classes, you would know exactly what's being said here. Take a look at this one. Y'all see the sun, right? See the sun. All right. So if you've been coming here since the start, you know what these what the symbology of the sun really means, right? You know that. Now let's see what else. So here again is the sun. Y'all see? Because the Christ figure is the sun. All right. And the Christ figure takes on different characteristics and attributes, specifically the characteristics and attributes as he passes through each of the 12 zodiac signs. So here you see the sun right here, right? Okay, now let's pull this up. All right. See this? This is infinity. That looks like infinity. Y'all see that? The infinity sign, like a sideways 8. That means that the celestial globe is infinite. So either when you go up, there's no end. Infinite. When you go down, there's no end. Right? That's what that's saying. All right. So just little things like this, you're able to interpret these images. Also, this would be the celestial equator, this horizontal line, right? And this would be, or in other words, you can say this is over here, the vernal equinox, right? The autumn equinox. This would be the sun at its zenith, June 21st, and then down here would be the sun at its lowest point, the declination, December 21 and 22nd, right? So you can just look at these things and tell certain things, you know. You look at these images and you know what they mean. You can interpret them. All right. But anyway, so we learned what this X means, didn't we? We learned that was maybe 2 videos ago, 3 videos ago. Okay. So let's get out of here and go back. Let me see what we're looking at. Let me make sure, y'all. Let me make sure before I go any further that I have sound. Give me 1 second. All right, let me pull it up. You just make sure the sound is working. Okay, where is it? Wait 1 second. Okay, here we are. Let's see if I have sound. Do we have sound? Is there sound? Okay, yep, I hear the sound. All right, so excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right. So but this is so basic, right? There's more complicated stuff you can look at. I'll show you all something else that you might find interesting. We were dealing with this quite often. All right. So let's see if it's going to show. In 1 second. Let me pull it up. I'm going to show the celestial map, okay? All right, let's show the celestial map. All right. So this is the celestial map, okay? You can see here. So if you're in the class, if you've been watching these videos, you'll know what you're looking at, right? Because we went through all of this and we related it to everything. Okay, we related it to everything. But this is just some images, all right? Just some images. But anyway, I'm giving it a few minutes, y'all, to give people some time to come in. Okay, so I'm just doing this to kind of pass the time, all right? So let's see. Let's go to Google. Let's go to Google. Google.com. Let's see. I'm going to see if I can find a celestial map, okay? See if I can show you a better one. All right. That's so we can pass the time until some people come in, and then we'll get started. All right. So let me pull this up. Give me 1 second. Okay, celestial map. Google. Is that it? Yeah, Google search. Okay. So right now it all looks confusing, right? So in this book so far, we've covered like constellations. Not every constellation, of course, but we've covered constellations. so you can see them. Now, the author has told us that one of the keys to understanding astrotheology is understanding how to draw the figures in the sky. In other words, how to connect the dots that make up the various constellations. That's what the author told us. So you're looking at some constellations here. So these will have meaning. Okay, they have meaning as we progress through this through this video series. Okay, it actually has meaning. All right. So that's the fun part, because once you are able to look in the sky to connect the stars to create the constellations, knowing how to use philology, etymology, grammar, church father writings, history of mythology, architecture, and history of the cathedrals and other monuments. Once you know how to put all of this stuff together, you can then start to decipher the astrotheology in the Gospels. So I think, I kind of like that about this book. And you can see here where the cursor is, you see the Big Dipper, you see these constellations, right? All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started in a second. So now this picture right here, let me see if I can make it go bigger. Okay, so this picture right here, this looks like the celestial equator, and this is the ecliptic, the line, that sign line right here. This looks like the ecliptic. All right, in other words, that's the course of the sun. So let's take a look at some other stuff, y'all. I have some better images in the PowerPoint. Maybe I should just show the PowerPoint. But anyway, y'all pretty much see what the deal is, right? This can be really, really fun. So here again, you see the constellations, some of the constellations, okay? All right. So let's see if we can find the pole star. Remember we talked about that last video. This would be Gemini. Was it? No, yeah, Gemini, one of the Gemini. All right, so it's not showing. All right. I'm not going to search through it, but y'all can search through it, okay? So let's go ahead and I want to show y'all this, and then we'll get started. There's one more I want to show y'all, okay? There's one more I want to show you. But this is basic, this is basic. Let me show you this one. Everybody can relate to this one. That's why I'm going to show it. So let me pull it up. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. So these are some of the constellations. Y'all see that? All right. These are some of the constellations. So the artist, not the artist, the author says that once you know how to draw what stars to connect, there's power in this, because otherwise when you look into the sky, it just looks like a bunch of stars. It has no order, right? And according to the author, all of these constellations were made up. They're just made up, all right? Just made up figures and made up stories that correlate with the seasons, right? That's according to the author. So in that respect, this is no different from religion. That's the point I'm trying to make. Somebody sat down and said, well, let me connect these stars, okay? And this is what you're going to see in the spring or the fall or whatever, and we're going to make this story out of it, okay? That became astrology in terms of the stories that are being told in the Gospels, and then the offshoot is the horoscope and all of that stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the lesson now. Let's get into the book. Again, I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. I want to say thank you for coming, sharing your time with me. And we're going to go ahead and begin. And please do be kind enough to like and share the video right now. Let some people know that we're here, because this is really something that we all should know, y'all. We should all be experts on this, because we need to know whether or not the Gospels is really astrotheology, right? This is a real big topic. And not believe somebody, but to know it for ourselves, because we went through the information, right? And the benefit of you being here is because I'm reading it and I'm interpreting it. This is a difficult read, okay? And we can discuss it. And then y'all make your decision on your own. I'm not here to convince you of anything, nothing at all. I'm not here to try to make you reject the Gospels or accept the Gospels. I'm here to share this book about astrotheology and have a good time with you going through this topic. You make your decisions yourself, and in the process, learn how to do some reading techniques that increases your reading comprehension and helps you to understand. So that said, let's go ahead and pull our PDF up and get started. All right. And I'm going to turn my camera off as I read. All right. So there we are. The page is, well, let me get the page centered. When I get the page centered, we will begin. All right. Make sure you like and share this on your Facebook, your Instagram, share the link on your Facebook, your Instagram, whatever other social media platforms you have. All right. So that we can get a nice group here. All right. So here we are. I'm going to turn my camera off, y'all, and let's get started, okay? Page 143. Page 143. Here we go. And why has the church fixed the great festival of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary on the 15th of August, and that of her nativity on the 8th of September? Okay, so keep these 2 points in mind. The church, that would be the Catholic Church, fixed a great festival, right? Which one? The Assumption of the Blessed Mary, that's on August 15th. The other one, that's the festival of her nativity on the 8th of September. So if y'all were here last, maybe 1 or 2 videos ago, a couple pages back, it gave a list of it's on page 132. So check your PDF copy of this book. It's on page 132. You will see the 8 festivals and then the days that they're celebrated. So the question is that the author raised, why does Mary have so many festivals, right? All right. So again, so the festival of her Ascension on the 15th of August, and the festival of her nativity on the 8th of September. As you will see in your almanacs, now remember y'all, almanacs were used in the probably the 1930s and 40s on backward, right? To know what to do during the seasons, okay? How to plant, how to do this, and how to do that. All right, as you will see in your almanacs, even of the present year. So the almanacs, you can get some old almanacs, you'll see these festivals. That's what the author is telling us. Next paragraph, the Assumption of the Virgin Mary is fixed on the 15th of August, because at that time, because on the 15th of August, the sun is so entirely in the constellation of the Virgin that the stars of which it is composed are rendered invisible in the bright effulgence of the sun rays. So on August 15th, the sun is right in the middle of that constellation. That's what it's saying, right? And the sun is so bright that you can't see the stars anymore that make up the constellation. The stars of which it is composed are rendered invisible. Y'all see that? Due to the brightness of the sun's rays. And the Christian church has the words, quote, "This day the Virgin Mary is taken up into the heavenly chamber, in which the King of Kings sits in his starry seat." So that King of Kings would be the sun in the constellation. As the pagan church from an infinite antiquity fixed this very day, that's August 15th, as that of the Assumption of the goddess Astrea. So the goddess Astrea and Mary are the same. They stole the holiday of the Assumption from this goddess Astrea. Y'all see that? That is, Astrea is the starry goddess, which is but another name of the same personification. The two are the same, right? The stars are made or spoken of as if they're people. But now, yesterday's video, the author told us that everybody knows that just because you talk about something as though it's a person doesn't make it a person, right? For example, death reigns. Okay, that doesn't make death a person. That's death being spoken of as a person. In other words, death personified. All right, let's continue. But about 3 weeks afterward, the sun having passed on, so the sun enters into that constellation August 15th, and then 3 weeks afterward, the sun passes on. And in his, that's the sun, apparent annual course toward the scales of September, the stars which compose the Virgin seem to emerge out of his rays and begin again to be visible to the naked eye. So in other words, the sun enters into that constellation on August 15th, and then 3 weeks later, the sun has gone far enough away where now you can see the stars that make up that constellation again. Okay, so that 3 weeks away, that's going to be close to September. Next paragraph. For that reason, and for no other reason, the church has fixed the festival of the Nativity of the Virgin on the 8th of September. All right, so the sun enters into the constellation on August 15th, and then it's gone, meaning you can now see the lights, right? So that's the entrance and the exit. All right, that's why they have August 15th and September 8th. So let's continue. And she was espoused to the man Joseph, because the constellation Bootes, Bootes, always rises and sets with her, and so was imagined to have the charge of bringing her up. Y'all see that? So the constellation Bootes rises with the sun or with the Virgin and is charged with bringing the Virgin up. With her, he comes up into the, whatever this Greek word is. No, I'm sorry, the her is the sun, into the hill country, the upper or visible hemisphere. And with her, he goes down into Egypt. That is, he sinks, that's the sun. Y'all see that? With her, he comes into this Greek word, which in English is the hill country, the upper or visible hemisphere. And with her, that's the sun, he goes down into Egypt. That is, he sinks below the horizon in the west. So it's tracking the course of the sun. The great star and the Virgin appearing on the eastern edge of the horizon at the moment of midnight between the 24th and the 25th of December, when the sun gains his first degree of ascension. So now we're talking about the great star and the Virgin. I believe, if I remember correctly, that's the Vendimatrix. Okay, appearing on the eastern edge of the celestial horizon at the moment of midnight. See, midnight, y'all, between December 24th and 25th, when the sun gains his first degree of ascension. So remember, on December 21st, 22nd, the sun is at its lowest point, right? That's his declination, lowest point. 23rd, 24th, it begins to rise and then at 12 o'clock midnight, between the 24th and the 25th, the sun rises 1 degree, 1 degree upward. So they now say that the sun is ascending upward. That's what's happening here. All right. The sun is now in ascension. For the first time of the year, the sun begins to ascend upward. And it's already gone 1 degree by this time, right? Between the 24th and the 25th of December, when the sun gains his first degree of ascension, was said to preside over his nativity and gave occasion to the fable of Christ, i.e., the Son, S-U-N, being born of a pure virgin. That's what the story is about. The fable of the birth being once adopted, the natural analogies of human life supplied the date of other festivals in honor of this celestial lady, as that of Lady Day, the 21st of March, precisely 9 months before the 25th of December. Y'all see that? 9 months of gestation for the baby, and then the baby's born in 9 months. All right. And then the festival of Lady Day. All right, so this is very interesting. All right, so Boots is with her. So Boots is Joseph in the Bible story. And we just read why Boots is Joseph in the Bible story, because Boots is tracking her, going with her all the way, right, until December 24th, midnight, December 25th, okay? Then the sun begins to arise, and that's the Christ figure, right? Being born of a pure virgin. Next paragraph. The fable of the birth being once adopted, the natural analogy of human life. Well, we just read that. So this is the last page of this chapter. So let me go ahead and go forward. All right. So page 144 of our book, we begin reading. While her own allegorical language supplies all the fillings up of the ingenious fiction, the pure virgin, without any contradiction or absurdity, is literally purified in the fire of hell when she is in her low estate in February. Y'all hear that? Purified in the fiery hell when she is in her low estate in February. All right, so that's talking about the virgin being in her low estate in February, not the sun, okay? The virgin. But in the 6th month, she thanks the sun for having regarded the low estate that she, this maid with the hand, had been in, when he has put down the mighty, i.e., the stars of the opposite constellation, from their seat, and exalted or brought to the zenith those that had been of low degree. He fills the hungry with good things as the lion of July, called by Samson the eater, and herself in the 6th month are the fruitful and abundant months. Y'all see that? While the rich, the opposite signs of January and February, are sent empty away, with nothing to live on but fish, so that with them, till the mutton of March and the beef of April come in, it must necessarily be Lent. All right, I don't think I have to explain too much on that. Okay. All right, so the stars of the opposite constellation from their seat and exalted or brought to zenith. That would be around June 21st. So remember, from spring, summer, and fall, everything is happening, right? And then fall, there's harvest. So winter, spring, summer, all of this stuff leads up to fall, which is when you can gather all your harvest, right? And you can celebrate. That's what he's talking about. And the winter months is where things are dead, right? So there's nothing to eat in the winter. But anyway, let's continue. And all this to do is expressly declared to be in fulfillment of the covenant. That is, most literally, making up of the astronomical allegory to Abraham, that is, the planet Saturn. So they're saying Abraham is Saturn. And his seed, that is, the stars of heaven forever. So I don't see the analogy in that. Maybe you all do. You can put it in the comments if you see the analogy to it. But let's continue. Thus, sirs, have I brought before you in this lecture a few, in my other lectures, very many of the principles of that occult astronomical science. Now, occult doesn't mean like spiritistic evil. It means secret, right? Secret science, the secret astronomical science, which lies hid under the riddle of evangelical fiction. Y'all see that? It's hidden under evangelical fiction. So that's Christianity, right? That's the Gospels and the New Testament, evangelical. With a force of demonstration which prejudice, hypocrisy, or madness may oppose, but reason cannot. All right. So he's saying if you're a reasonable person, right, of normal intelligence, according to him, you'll see the astronomical science connected to these gospels. All right. Next paragraph. For, sirs, if reason, if truth, and the right of the cause were with those whom I oppose, or if they themselves but felt an honorable conviction that they were right, why should they have recourse to the dark and slanderous arts of defamation and scandal, and the wicked persecuting tricks which a good cause never needed, right? In other words, they do this to you for cause or no cause, right? Just to have fun, or just because they don't like you. And good men never used. Why should they brand me with opprobrious epithets to terrify men's mind from the pursuit of knowledge? So he's talking about they branded him as a devil, okay? Why is it that they dare not trust their hearers, nay, nor themselves, so much as to hear me, or even to know what the nature of the argument I adduce is? In other words, they branded him as a devil. Now all the people are afraid to talk to him, but these people are not using their own mind, because common sense would say, well, why don't you find out what this person is really about and make your own decision whether or not you should talk to him? Why are you listening to these people who are telling you bad things about this person and you're acting on it, right? It doesn't make good sense unless you're a child, right? That's what he's saying. But that, like conscious bankrupts, they dare not look at the bill which an honest man would bring against them. Why do they decline the challenge which I give them? So the author challenged these priests, secret society members, many times. They would never, never, never take his challenge to prove him wrong. Okay. He continues, and shall never cease to give to the best and outblessed of them under any arrangements, even of their own, so that they will not kill me, to show by fair comparison whether it be we or they who are deceivers of the people. So the author here is saying that he's willing to educate the people, talk it out, do presentations in front of the people, and let the people decide whether or not the author is lying or these secret society priests, lawyers, and judges are lying, right? But he's saying that none of them ever challenged him or accepted the challenge to go before the people and make their presentations to see who's telling the truth. That's very powerful, right? Very, very powerful. Very powerful point. All right, so now we go to the next chapter. This chapter is St. Peter. St. Peter, this is coming out of Matthew chapter 8, verse 14, y'all. Matthew chapter 8, verse 14. So this is a whole different sermon. All right. Let me check the comments. All right. Jerice, hi, Dr. Yasapa. Shalawama, Jerice, good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Very powerful. Jerice says very powerful. Yeah, Jerice, this is a powerful book, man. The author is not biting his tongue about anything. I appreciate this book. You know, in these older books, what I like about this book is more than 200 years old, right? The issues today were not the issues necessarily back then. And they were using different sources of information than what we have access to now. A lot of stuff he had, we don't have. So this is invaluable. And I'm so happy you're here, Jerice, because this education, I'm going to tell you, search Google for the Devil's Pulpit and see what you come up with in terms of the quality of the information that they're giving on this book, right? Check it for yourself. All right, so let's keep going, y'all. Let's keep going. Share the video. Let's see if we can get 10 people here. All right, cool, Jerry's. Let's see if we can get 10 people here today. I think we peaked at 11, but you know, we're just starting this, right? Just starting to really go live and try to build the channel. But this, imagine what it would be if we had 30 people in here and we're going through this book, right? Not me giving a presentation, because if I give the presentation, I'm giving you what I think you should see. But if we read through the book, you're getting what the author wrote. And it's better for you to get that than to have it filtered through me. I hope everybody agrees with that, scholars. All right. But it takes discipline to be able to sit here and go through a book, because this is like sitting in school. All right. So let's continue. Matthew chapter 8, verse 14, quote, "And when Jesus was come into Peter's house, he saw his wife's mother laid and sick with the fever. And he touched her hand, and the fever left her, and she arose and ministered unto him." That's end quote, quoted from Matthew chapter 8, verse 14. And let's go into the paragraph. Here is a personage introduced to us, of whom we ought, upon all principles of rational criticism. Rational criticism means not accepting anything, but asking questions, having doubt, right? Having doubt. Ask logical questions. Or if you can't figure out any logical questions, ask some questions and then start looking for the answers in the text, right? Not in doctrine, but in the text, in the linguistics, the etymology, right? The grammar, parts of speech, the grammar rules, all of this stuff, the history, right? Church father, architecture, everything we've been going through. That's the critical thinking. Okay, and also the astronomy, right? Or astrology. Okay, so he says here, upon all principles of rational criticism, to be supposed never to have heard before. For this is the first passage in any part of capital God's most holy word, that is, in either New Testament or Old, in which the name of Peter occurs. The name of Peter occurs for the first time here. Yet here his name occurs, and his character is introduced with a familiarity as gross as if the writer of this gospel had taken it for granted that everybody must know who Peter was. Now I see his point. First time Peter is mentioned according to the author, and the author just casually mentions him like everybody knows him, right? Instead of providing a proper introduction so that people would know hey, there's this new person, Peter, and so and so and such, right? That's what the author is saying. That his name, that's Peter, and character, and anything that was to be understood with respect to him would present itself to the mind as immediately as the name of any one of those days of the weeks or months of the year. As you might say, Sunday, February 20, everybody knowing, as well as yourself, what Sunday, February 20 means. Well, he makes a good point, right? So who is Peter? Why didn't you give him a proper introduction so we know him? Next paragraph. Approve this among 10,000 others that these gospels, okay, so he's saying this fact that he had no proper introduction, right? We don't know who he's talking about. Approve this among 10,000 other proofs that these gospels, that would be Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, are not original writings. Okay, well, I can see why he's saying that. I can see that, right? Because if there were original writings, he would have had to introduce these people, because it's assumed that everybody knows who Peter is, okay? And were not and could not have been written till any length of time you please. After all, the subject matter which they contain was so familiar to the general notions and ordinary associations of idea among the persons for whose convenience they were written, as the names of the days of the week are with ourselves. In other words, the author is saying they didn't tell anything about Peter in terms of an introduction that you would normally give to a new character in a story. The reason why they didn't, why the author of the Gospels didn't provide that introduction, is because the Gospels were written so long after the stories actually happened that everybody knew who Peter was. So you can just write Peter and everybody knows. So he does, in other words, he's so well known that he doesn't need an introduction. For example, like Eddie Murphy. He's so well known, he doesn't need an introduction, right? Or let's say Richard Pryor. He's so famous, so well known, he doesn't need an introduction. That's the author's point. Next paragraph. Here is an ambiguity in the text itself, which could only have been set right, or at least settled by those who had other, better means of settling it than any information which this gospel contains. For as far as the text goes, quote, when Jesus was coming to Peter's house, he saw his wife's mother laid, that's Peter's wife's mother laid, and sick with fever, end quote. There's no knowing whether it was Peter's wife's mother or Jesus' wife's mother that was laid and sick or of a fever. Well, that's a good point. Y'all see that? I'm going to read the quote again. When Jesus was coming to Peter's house, he saw his mother laid. His own wife? Y'all see that? I'm sorry, he saw his wife's mother. His own wife's mother laid. Now you would have to assume that Jesus did not have a wife, right? Which is what they teach. So when you read this, you automatically assume he's talking about he saw Peter's wife's mother, because you're taught by doctrine that the Christ figure had no wife, right? But without that doctrine, you don't know if this is talking about the Christ figure's wife's mother or Peter's wife's mother. So this is a good point. Very, very good point. Next paragraph. And if anything like historical or probable fact were intended in the matter, nothing hinders but that Jesus might have been a married man, as well as Peter. All right. And there might have been a mistress, Jesus Christ, as well as a mistress, Peter. And that too, with very great relief to the moral character of this great patriarch of holiness, from certain suspicions which would naturally attach to a person who was so familiar as he was with other men's wives, as we expressly read, that he was followed by a certain woman which had evil spirits, which evil spirits I hope I may, without impiety, suppose to be none of the best spirits, quote, Mary Magdalene, out of whom went 7 devils, and Joanna, the wife of Chusa, Herod's steward, and Susanna, and many others, which ministered to him of their substance, end quote. All right, y'all. So the prostitutes or right mistresses, figure that out yourself, y'all. So next paragraph, like the great mogul, this great pattern of purity and holiness, his purity and holiness notwithstanding, kept a seraglio, which accounts for the singular fact that all of the 10 commandments, the one which our blessed Savior held to be of least consequence, was that which comes between, quote, thou shalt do no murder, and, quote, thou shalt not steal, end quote. As we find him disposed to hush up a matter of that sort with the good nature, tut, say no more about it, say no more about it. Hath no man condemned thee, woman? Neither do I condemn thee. We are 6 of one and a half, a dozen of the other. Go, and be more prudent for the future. It is not for us to fling stones at you. The gospel, you see, both in example and precept, presents us with the purest system of morals that was ever purported to man. So I guess he's being, what is it called when you say one thing but you mean another? I forgot the word for it right now. All right. Well, that's his opinion, and I'm going to leave it at that. Y'all work through that on your own. Let me check the comments real quick. All right. Okay. So give me 1 second, y'all. Let me get things set up. All right. Okay, so page 147. But our business now is with the chief of the apostles. Okay, so he's turning his attention to the chief of the apostles, that great paragon of moral perfection, Saint Peter, who denied his master and who crushed and swore till the very cock upon his roost crowed, shame on you, Peter, but by the wink of an eye turned into Simon Peter, a servant and an apostle of JC, Christ figure. The first saint of the calendar, the porter of heaven's gate, and the rock and foundation of the whole Christian church, end quote. Now, as we can never go to heaven when we die, unless Peter, to whom Christ has committed the keys, shall be pleased to open the gate to us. It is not worth our while to scrape all the acquaintance we can with such an important personage, and not expose our souls to the dreadful venture of having to knock and cry, capital L-O-R-D, open to us, to receive no better answer, perhaps, than go and be, ye fools. I know ye not, and why should I, when you never thought it worth your while to know me? So the author is saying here that there are some problems with Peter, with his character, right? But Peter has the keys of the heaven. Okay, so you better not ask any questions about Peter, because when you die and you go to heaven's gate, maybe Peter's not going to let you in because you ask questions about him, right? All right. So let's continue next paragraph. So then, if ye have a mind, I will introduce ye to Saint Peter, and I will tell you more about him and of him than any of your clergy. All right, well, let's see what you're going to tell us. Either Catholic or Protestant have ever known themselves, or if they have known, then they have never had the honesty to tell you. They kept it a secret if they knew. Their object being that of cherubim. Let me read that again. Their object being that of cherubim with the flaming sword, which turned every way to keep you from the tree of knowledge. My object being, y'all got that? Y'all got that? He's saying that the priest didn't tell you about Peter because they don't want you to know and be set free. Okay? The tree of the knowledge. Okay? They don't want you to know what's happening. They want you to be a fool. So they're not telling you, keeping it a secret from you. Right? Now he's saying his object or his motive. My object being that which simply purports with the title they have given me of the devil's chaplain, right? The devil's chaplain, the devil's pulpit, the name of the book. All right. My object being that which situation, that which suitably comports with the title they have given me of the devil's chaplain, to tempt you by all arguments I can to eat of that forbidden fruit. For capital God doeth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, you shall see through the vile and wicked imposture that has been practiced on you, and the power of priest shall exist no longer. Wow. The author is saying his motive is to show you the secrets that these priests, these Christians have been hiding from you, right? This secret knowledge. And then once you learn this knowledge, those priests know that they're not going to be able to have control over your mind anymore. You're going to walk away from them. All right. That's what the author is saying. This is a powerful paragraph. Powerful, powerful paragraph. All right. Next paragraph. The Gospel of Luke, chapter 4, settles the ambiguity of the text of Matthew by determining for us what otherwise we should have no right to determine, that it was Simeon's wife's mother and not Jesus' wife's mother that had the fever. Simeon and Peter, or Simon Peter. Okay, let me repeat that. Simon and Peter, or Simon Peter, being assumed to be synonymous. I think the key word is assumed to be synonymous. Or let me turn the page for y'all. I'm by myself, so give me 1 second so I can turn the page. Okay, so or a double name for one and the self same personage. All right, so let's see what he got to say. Let's continue. But the matter is but little mended in this account, which represents the fever which had seized the old woman, as being as much a real personage as sensible a personage as the old woman herself. Okay, well, let's see what he's going to make. What points is he going to make in the next paragraph? Saint Luke, we are told, was a physician and therefore ought to be called Dr. Saint Luke. And we have at this day a Dr. Saint John. Tells us that this fever took the woman, not that the woman had taken the fever, and not that the fever was a very bad fever or a yellow fever or scarlet fever, but that it was a great fever. That is, I suppose, a fever 6 feet high, at least, a personal fever, a rational and intelligent fever that would yield to the power of Jesus' argument, but would never have given way to James Powder. James Powder. Maybe these are, I don't know what he's talking about. Let's continue reading. So we are expressly told that Jesus rebuked the fever, that is, Jesus gave it a good scolding, asked it, I dare say, how it could be so unreasonable as to plague the poor old woman so cruelly, and whether it wasn't ashamed of itself, and said perhaps, get out, you naughty, wicked fever, you. Go to hell with you, and such like objurgatory language, which the fever, not being used to be rebuked in such a manner, and being a very sensible sort of fever, would not stand, but immediately left the old woman in high dungeon, and swore he'd never come into that house again. Okay, so he's being facetious, right? All right, let's continue to the next paragraph. The point is that Jesus told the fever to go and the fever left. The next important discovery is that Peter or Simon Peter was at any rate worth a house, which shows us at least that the man was by, which shows us at least, let me start from the top, y'all. The next important discovery is that Peter or Simon Peter was at any rate worth a house. So Peter had money. Okay, so he's supposed to be a fisherman and poor, right? They were all fishermen. So the author is saying, where does he get the money to get a house? All right, so Peter had a house, which shows us at least that the man Peter was by so much richer than the master, who declares that he had not where to lay his head. In other words, Peter had enough money to buy a house, but the Christ figure had no place to lay his head, sleeping outside. The apostle, you see, had a fixed and permanent place of residence, while his master had not. It's hard to reconcile this admission of Peter's being a housekeeper and able not only to keep a wife and very likely a large family of his own, but to keep his wife's mother as well. So Peter had some money, right? But he's supposed to be a poor fisherman, and nothing more than a poor fisherman of the Galilean lake, except we suppose that his wife took in washing, which may have account for her husband being a water bearer. So in other words, his wife took in washing, thinking that the author means his wife was washing clothes on the side, right? And if you're washing clothes, you have to have a bucket of water, right? So the water bearer is Aquarius. All right. So let's read the asterisk, the footnote. Peter is unquestionably the Aquarius of the zodiac. Y'all see that? All right. But then again, we have fresh difficulty opened upon us into the Acts of the Apostles, which implies that that's Peter, was not a fisherman, but a tanner. That's the Acts of the Apostles imply that Peter was a tanner, not a fisherman, whose house was by the seaside. With this most curious source of ambiguity, confusion, which none of your clergy can give a reason for, and you shall soon see that I can, that Simon Peter, who in the gospel is but one person, in the Acts of the Apostles, splits into two. Y'all see where this is going already, I hope, right? Simon and Peter. So Simon Peter in the Acts of the Apostles is one person, Simon Peter. He becomes two people now, Simon and Peter. And then Peter is no longer a housekeeper. Peter is no longer a housekeeper, but a lodger. Peter lodging in the house of Simon. Wow. Wow. All right. That's a brain twister. But I can see the literary technique that he's using. The house of the tanner being by the seaside, which was certainly not the best situation for a tanner, may account for the mistake of the tanner being taken for a fisherman. Y'all see that? The house of the tanner being by the seaside, which was certainly not the best situation for a tan yard, may account for the mistake of the tanner being taken for a fisherman. Though the most conclusive reason for settling the question that this first of the apostle was a tanner and not a fisherman is that though he might catch a soul, S-O-L-E, or a flat fish now and then, yet we may be very well assured that there is nothing like leather. Quote, and it came to pass, end quote, says our holy record, quote, that Peter tarried among the days in Joppa, which one Simon a tanner. I'm sorry, it says with one Simon a tanner. Quote again, that Peter tarried many days in Joppa with one Simon a tanner, end quote, right? Peter and Simon, now two different people. All right, he's building his argument. But the most curious fact is that capital G-O-D Almighty, who knows nothing about 17 Carey Street, Lincoln's Inn, should discover such a very particular acquaintance with the house of Simon the Tanner, as in 2 or 3 peculiar revelations from heaven, repeatedly to describe it, as if to prevent all possibility of mistake. Quote, and now send men to Joppa and call for one Simon, whose surname is Peter. So now Simon and Peter are the same person again. He lodgeth with one Simon, a tanner, whose house by the seaside. This most condescending peculiarity indeed. Now it is held to be a wonderful confirmation to the evidences of Christianity to know that there actually is a town named of Joppa, situate in the Levant. We covered what the Levant means a couple lessons ago, a couple videos ago, y'all. Go back and watch that. You can get those, the other names of the Levant. On the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. And our Christian travelers who always see what they go to see by the help of this divine directory will find you out the very tanyard of Simon and come back in new shoes made of the leather that Simon tanned. All right, so there's really a city. Y'all might have to go through this a second or a third time. If you don't understand it now, what I'm getting from it is that Simon Peter and the Acts of the Apostles, again, are two different people, right? Are two different people. So if you need to, go back and review this lesson, okay? But let's continue with the reading. It's still interesting, right? I've never heard the concept before, so it's definitely worth looking into. Bottom of the page paragraph is where we are. While the scripture mentions no other place of permanent residence for St. Peter, none that could at any time be called his home but Joppa, capital G-O-D himself instructing us that if we want to find Peter, we must send to Joppa. And if we really want to find, and if we really want to know who a man is, there's nothing like setting ourselves to find out who he is when he is at home. Go to his house when he's at home. That's what he said. Now, as Peter was let's continue. Now, as Peter was a sort of personage who found it convenient to have more names than one and could only be identified by ringing the changes through a great many aliases. All right, so he's saying Peter had a lot of aliases, nicknames, as alias Simon, alias Peter, alias Simon Peter, alias Peter Simon, alias Cephas, alias a stone, alias a rock, alias Satan, alias the devil. Wow, I never thought of it that way. Never ever thought of it that way. What about y'all? Y'all ever thought of this that way? What I like about this author, he's got the inside scoop. I mean, he's handing it to them. He's really handing it to these secret society members. You know what I mean? If y'all learn this book, imagine what the secret society members, what would be going through their head if you had this knowledge in your head that a lot of them probably don't even have because they don't have the reading comprehension skills to read through this book and understand it. Y'all follow what I'm saying? A lot of people want to read this book, but they cannot understand it. They cannot comprehend it. So they get the book and they just put it down because the reading is too difficult. But here you are, you're getting the knowledge. You're getting it. All right. So this is a really, really good thing. Okay, so page 150, next paragraph. We have one of these aliases immediately conferred on him by Christ himself, which puts into our hands a clue to further unravelments. Quote, blessed art thou, Simon, Bar Jonah, end quote. All right, so now Simon is Bar Jonah. That's quoting from Matthew chapter 16. But this Bar Jonah ought to be no bar to our perception. That Simon and Jonah are one and the same personages. Well, I think I see why he's saying that. Simon's supposed to be a fisherman, Jonah in the mouth of the fish. But let's see, and y'all remember, well, let's just see what he's saying. Let's continue reading. Quote, Bar Jonah, signifying the son of Jonah, and the son and father commonly bearing the same name, and Jonah, who navigated in the fish's belly, when he fled from the presence of the capital Lord, went down to Joppa, and there he found a ship going to Tarshish, so that Simon Bar Jonah, that is Simon the son of Jonah, identifies the Peter of the New Testament as a second edition of the Jonah of the Old Testament, according to the analogy which, in so many instances, I have demonstrated as obtaining between the Old and New Covenant. So the New Covenant is stealing stuff from the Old. That's what he's saying. Just stealing stories, right? And leaving clues. So if you're in the know, if somebody told you, right, you know that the story was stolen and you know which story or which Bible character it correlates back to. Thank you to the Secret Society for giving you that information. Remember, we maybe 5 or 6 videos ago where we went over. It was one of the videos we did when Jimmy was here, how the secret societies would give you information. And then now you know, okay, and now you're not following the same stuff. You have a change of mind, right? You start thinking differently because you got the scoop, because you're in the secret society, right? Everybody else, they don't know what's happening, but you got the scoop. So you have a change of mind, a change of perception and thinking. All right, let's continue. It reads, with only this curious transposition. Well, let me go back. I have demonstrated as obtaining between the old and the new covenant, with only this curious transposition, that in the new covenant, it is the man that catches the fish. All right. Whereas in the old covenant, it is the fish that catches the man. Y'all see that? Very interesting. You decide whether you think that this is plausible, whether you think the author is making a good point, or whether you think he's stretching it. Okay, whether his analogy holds water or it doesn't. You decide. Use your analytical mind. Make your decision. Judge the author by his words. All right? Okay, let's continue. Judge the author by his words, not by your doctrine. Next paragraph. Now the name Jonas, which in showing of Christ himself constituted so essential a part of the style of Simon Peter. Okay, so Jonah is an essential part of the style of Simon Peter. Simon Bar Jonah is a direct anagram. Simon Bar Jonah is a direct anagram and absolutely the same name as Janus, who in the pagan mythology bears the same character and fills the same functions as Simon Bar Jonah, or Peter of the Gospel, with this most curious, most startling coincidence of fact, that while no single line of historical record or any character, whatever, was ever yet to be adduced to prove that any such person as Simon Peter or Simon Bar Jonah ever existed or was ever in Rome. Rome, through all periods of its pagan history, was famous for its temple of Janus. Janus was not a Greek, but peculiarly, exclusively a Roman deity. And Rome to this day retains the self-same Janus under his name Peter as her patron saint. Y'all got that? So Peter is the saint, is the patron saint of Janus. And her temple of Janus on the self-same spot of ground under her name of St. Peter's Church. Y'all see that? Y'all see that? Why would they put it there? Let me read that again. And Janus temple, and her temple of Janus on the self-same spot of ground under her name of St. Peter's Church. Why did they put them together? The only logical reason is that Janus is Peter. Janus is Simon Bar Peter, or is it, Simon Bar Jonas. Okay, very strong evidence, right? Looks like it's more than just a coincidence. All of this stuff is piling up. Next paragraph. The figure of capital God, Janus, was represented with a staff in one hand, with which he pointed to a rock whence issued a profusion of water, while in the other hand he held a key and had generally near him some resemblance of a ship. He was addressed, quote, Jane Bifons, Anai Tisite Labentis Origo, end quote. Two-faced Janus, the origin of the silently flowing year. He was believed to preside over the new year. His two faces, sometimes one old, the other young, was emblematical of his looking both on the old and the new year, as the name of the month, January, is derived from that of Janus. And his fingers were so disposed as to represent the number 365, the number of the days of the year. Sometimes the two faces, the old and the young, were represented as the one looking upward to the coming year and the other downward on the year gone by, and were set on two distinct persons. And in this form, you may see him to this day on the western front of our own St. Paul's Cathedral. So why is Janus on St. Paul's Cathedral? Powerful information strongly suggesting that Janus and Peter, St. Peter, are the same person. But what do you think? What do you think? That's what's important. What do you think? All right. So now let's continue. Where are we? Okay. And in this form, you may see him to this day on the western front of our own St. Paul's Cathedral. where he has got the character of the evangelist Saint Mark. Okay, so he's not on St. Peter's Cathedral, he's on St. Paul's Cathedral. But even still, why is Janus on one of the apostles' cathedrals, right? He should not be there, right? Unless Janus is an apostle. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. When he was got the character of the evangelicus Saint Mark. So Peter has the character of Saint Mark. And the church has invented the silly lie that Saint Mark wrote his gospel under the immediate dictation of Saint Peter. Okay, so that's the excuse, right? That's the excuse why Peter is represented, or Janus is representing Saint Mark. Okay, because Peter is supposed to have dictated his gospel and then St. Mark wrote it down. All right. Under the immediate dictation of St. Peter, as there you will observe the old boy with his pen in hand, ready to scribble away, while the young one, a little Cupid with wings, the very form of the Aquarius or water bearer of the zodiac. Y'all see that? So the zodiac, Aquarius, remember Peter is Aquarius. Remember that? All right. Is looking up in his face and telling him what to write. While we have still preserved the very words of the pagan prayer book, which identify him with Peter of the gospel. Quote, Jane Pater, Jane Tunes, divine biceps, biformis. Okay, rarum sator, o principium deorum. Okay, O Father Janus, O regarding Janus, two-headed, two-body saint, O wise sower of things, O chief of all the lowercase gods. The word pater, now generally taken from the Greek or Latin for father, is but a corruption of the word Peter. Oh, there you have it. There you have it. All right. The word pater or Peter, whence the name of the apostle Peter was. So in other words, that's the etymological meaning. That's the mother, right? That's the root. As the learned Bryant has shown, the Egyptian word, the true name of the Ammonian priest or priest of Jupiter Ammon, being Peter or Pater. And it is found in combination to this day in the name of the supreme pagan deity Jupiter, without, let me turn the page for y'all. Y'all see how this is building? It's just building on each other. It's, one layer upon a layer upon a layer. Y'all see that? All right. Which without any pun or levity and in brave defiance of any approach of ridicule or sarcasm stands the incontrovertible basis and origin of the Jew Peter, Jew whose name of capital G-O-D, which the soft and elegant utterance of the Greek nations pronounced with a sigma or zeta as Zeus, okay, and pater or Peter, signifying not his paternal character, but his wisdom and foretelling things to come, right? One face looking to the future, one looking to the back. That one looking to the future could foretell events. That's what he's saying. Quote, or bringing to light, end quote, the proper attribute of time. All right, I see that. As the priests of Apollo were called paters or Peters, in signification of their being interpreters of the oracles of Apollo, as our priests are to this day. All right. Wow, there's a whole lot to Peter, isn't there? Okay, so let me see, y'all. Give me 1 second. I need to catch my breath. Let me catch my breath. Oh, by the way, all of y'all are invited next Saturday, 9 a.m. I was hoping to see some of y'all today, but you're invited to next week, next Saturday, 9 a.m. I teach the curses course, right? It's a word for word breakdown of every word in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15 through 29. The stuff you will learn will blow you away. It's mind blowing. It will really change your life for the better. You'll start to see things in a completely different way after just one or two classes. The link is in the description area of this video, but you owe it to yourself to come. You don't have to pay anything. You can come twice for free, right? But that class will actually move you and blow you away, all right? One or two classes, something that you're going to have a breakthrough, a positive breakthrough, all right? Now, the other thing I want to share with y'all, and I hope y'all will support it, is the one-on-one Ancient Ibaryath course, okay? This course, you will learn linguistics. You're going to learn etymology and a lot of other things. And there was a lot of work and effort to put this together for y'all. So this is zionlawschool.org. In the menu, click course offerings, okay? And I really want you to learn. I want you to learn Ibaryath. I want you to learn about root words, base words, prefixes and infixes, and all of the rules, right? This is your language. If you're Yasharala, man or woman, this is your language, okay? And I want you to learn. That's why I put this streaming course together. So y'all take advantage of it, okay? Take advantage of it because I certainly want you to. And you see, there's no money in it, right? It's $1 for 1 day trial, $10 a month to subscribe. So it's not like I'm trying to get some type of profit out of you, okay? Because this is basically free, okay? But you go try to get a course like this, go try to take a Hebrew course. They're going to teach you modern Hebrew, right? Or they're going to teach you biblical Hebrew, one or the other. Go see how many thousands of dollars they're going to charge you per semester. Go to a synagogue or a university. But this is basically free and there's no contract, right? You can cancel anytime. But you're going to learn all about the pictographs, the culture, the grammar. You're going to learn Ibaryath word studies, and you're going to build a vocabulary. And this is all video lessons, 113 lessons. So y'all scroll down through the page and you can see exactly what's in the course, okay? So I think with that, I'm going to say good night. We've been at it for almost an hour and 30 minutes, okay? And I'm getting tired. So with that, I'm going to say shalom. Y'all make me proud, okay? Come to class next Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and subscribe to the 101 Ancient Ibaryath course, and go back and watch all of these videos, okay? If you got extra time, watch these videos and learn, okay? Study these videos, because let me turn my camera on. The education you're going to get from studying these videos is phenomenal. Again, for y'all who may not have seen it, this is the book, The Devil's Pulpit, right? By Reverend Robert Taylor. Make sure you download this, okay? Download it so you have your copy and print it off, so that if we ever lose, if the screen ever blurs or anything like that, you got your own copy and you can read along. This is a heck of an education in this book, y'all. This is literally a heck of an education. All right, let me remove that. It's not costing you anything. I'm doing the reading and interpreting for you, okay? All you need to do is download it and print it, okay? This is a powerful education. Whether or not you agree with the author or not doesn't matter, right? What matters is the reading skills, the demonstration of reading comprehension, the demonstration of analysis that you're getting, the comments that you get to go through. So if, like, for example, if y'all put questions and comments, let me take a look. If you put a lot of questions and comments in the video, even if you're not sure about what you're asking, just remember, there are going to be people who come in the future. I mean, this could be powerful. Who else is doing this? Who else is giving you astrotheology? And I'm not coming in here preaching, telling you something, but I'm reading the book with you, right? It's not as exciting, and it's definitely not sexy, right? It's not entertaining like watching a movie. And it's not like you go and you sit and you listen to someone give a speech. But that's always inferior to getting it from the book yourself, right? So this is high level, y'all. This is high level, okay? Now, if I come in here and I'm just talking to you, telling you this and telling you that, you know, it might be a fun conversation, but you're not going to get everything, okay? And I want you to have everything. I want you to have everything. This is education. So with that, I'm going to, give me 1 second, y'all. Let me mute my microphone. Hold on. I got to take a call. Give me 1 second. Oh, man. Okay, so that's kind of like what I want to say, y'all. But I want to congratulate you for having the discipline and the intellectual strength to stay here through the whole thing, okay? Most people are unwilling to learn because they don't want to think. It takes a lot of work, right? A lot of effort to think, you know. So you're doing good, and I want to congratulate you, all right? So I'm Dr. Yasapa. If you have any questions for me, put it in the comments. You are welcome to come on in the live stream if you want, or you're welcome. You can call in if you want. You can call in, make your statement, give your opinion, ask a question. If I know the answer, I'll answer. If I don't know the answer, I'm gonna tell you I don't know the answer, right? But you're welcome to come in, and we can have fun. But tomorrow, try to bring somebody with y'all, okay? So with that, I'm going to say Shalawama. Thanks for spending your evening with me. I'm Dr. Yasapa. And remember, you are the power. You are the power. Shalawama.